Okay, so this is a little video on staging. I know this probably looks extremely silly, but give it this. Probably you'll never be able to forget this no matter how hard you try. This is my own little mock-up of an Elizabethan stage, say the Globe Theatre. Now, in a perfect world, I would have an absolutely perfect wooden replica down to the last detail, but this is not a perfect world, so I've never even seen something like that, and in the meantime, this will have to do. It's made of an Amazon box and a shoe box with appropriate cutouts and some toilet paper rolls with a little bit of toilet paper hanging onto it for that rough Verismo feel. And down here you have a little drawing. What are those things? This is the stage as it would have been. That would have been 5 feet off from the yard. These are stage pillars. They are holding up a roof that appears right at this point. There are the 2 stage entrances, the 3 actually, 2 small doors and 1 large door or alcove at the back. And up here is what is sometimes called the loft space or the balcony. And then finally up here, we're just going to call that the hut, and that would have had various different purposes, one of which would be to have goddesses and the like descending. Why is this important? We are used to a proscenium arch. In the 17th century, early 18th century, this picture box stage started to come into being. And we are used to that. First it is a picture box stage, and then a picture box movie, and then a picture box television, and then now a picture box computer screen. But in those, whether or not we're conscious of it, we have this sense of the stage direction being back and forth like this, the entrances and the exits being from side to side. You can see that this is very different, that the entrances and exits are mostly all through the back. It takes, in my experience, a good semester or 2 of really giving that some serious thought before it really gets ingrained. And at this point where we're having to do most of this remotely, this is an important thing to remember. So we're going to demonstrate this using the Professor Aaron players. Pinkie Pie, Fluttershy. Fluttershy tried to commit suicide, I guess. That's from Tosca, Fluttershy. They don't do it like that. Rarity, Rainbow Dash, and Princess Celestia and Princess Luna. Royalty's rather unstable, but when isn't it? So you girls go back here. I'm going to be dealing with you later. Okay, so let's start with something simple, and that is the use of the doors. Characters might come in through the same door, as in here, where Pinkie Pie is coming in and Fluttershy is coming along and asking something like, but why? And that happens all the time. Or they might enter at separate doors. And the stage direction from that is usually enter at several doors. That means they're coming from separate places. Sometimes one is coming from the outside and one is coming from the inside. There's a lot of debate as to whether all of the directions come in through the left and go out through the right. But in any case, it's supposed to convey that they are coming from separate places. Well, let's say they've come in and they've met in the street, and maybe they're Brutus and Casca at the early part of Julius Caesar, and Casca is talking about all the terrible things he's seen. They're having that little kind of conversation going on in the middle. If Fluttershy then goes away and Pinkie Pie comes down to the bottom to have a soliloquy, the stage direction is Manet, which just means remains. Pinkie Pie remains on stage. All right, so let's assume that they're having this conversation And for some reason, Rarity comes in, and she doesn't wish them to know that they're there. Either that she's there. Either she is spying on them, or she's trying for them not to see her, or something of the like. If you look at that, you can see that she appears to be not visible to Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie, but she's perfectly visible to us. So that conveys that she is eavesdropping. There are other reasons to use the stage pillars. It might be a tree, they might be leaning against something, they may simply use it for something to hide behind. Let's now assume that we're doing the Romeo and Juliet balcony scene, or really any balcony scene. And there, Pinkie Pie is what would sometimes be described as a loft. That doesn't have to be a romantic scene. It can be done in Richard II, where in the Flint Castle scene, where Richard first appears aloft. In Richard III, he appears aloft while Buckingham is talking to him down there. So you can create this two-level effect. Something, though, to bear in mind about a loft, this is also where the musicians are, and it's also one of the most popular places for the audience members to be. It's one of the most expensive places. They're called the Lord's places. And of course, probably you're wondering why, if it's so expensive, why are they standing behind the actors for a good deal of the play? One is that anybody who wishes to sit there is wishing to be seen. So it's glamorous. It's like the Met Gala opening. And also that they used to say, I'm going to hear a play, as opposed to I'm going to see a play. So the fact that they could not necessarily see what was going on stage wouldn't necessarily bother them. In addition to audience members being up there, the musicians are up there, so that's important. It means that it wasn't unreasonable for actors to play their scenes even while they're surrounded by audience members and musicians. It just doesn't cause any difficulties whatsoever. So now let's assume that Rainbow Dash is a goddess, and that suits her because she's very much of a braggart. This is one of the few instances where a character would come in from the very highest point, maybe the hut. They would have to be lowered down on a rope. Now, this is reserved for very rare instances, like the goddess Iris, who is the rainbow goddess, so it suits her, in The Tempest. It's difficult because it's on a rope, and it makes a noise as the character's being lowered down, this kind of and that's why they usually play music to cover the sound. The other thing is that they're slow coming in, and then you can't just have them come back out because they're pulled up by people. So that's something you want to reserve for special occasions. That's not used very commonly at all. Another place that can be used, you'll see this little black square, that's to signify the grave trap. It's not that the grave trap is never used, but it's also one of those things that is reserved for certain specific things. Left over from the medieval stage, this section underneath is called hell, this is called heaven, and the ghosts might appear from down there. It can be used in The Tempest. It's sometimes used to signify characters coming up from the hold. You would think that it would be difficult to get up and down quickly, and to a certain extent that's true, but depending on how well it's staged, I have seen people seem to just appear through there without really noticing that they are there. But those are the options when it comes to people entering and exiting. Now let's say that we are now in Hamlet, and we have courtiers hanging out on either side. And we'll go ahead and have Rarity be Hamlet so she can sulk down there. This is one instance of when you might wish to use those big back doors. You can use them to, quote, discover something, a bed or a tomb. And also you can have it used for a grand entrance, as in with royalty. So if Gertrude and Claudius come in through the back in those big through those big doors, that would be an appropriate place, powerful place, and also a wide enough place for two alicorn princesses to come in. In any case, I hope this was an illuminating use of the stage. If you can't be bothered to rig up a little diorama like this at home, then go ahead and draw yourself a little diagram or use a little drawing and get used to the idea of drawing pictures until you can picture this in your mind. That is really helpful for understanding Shakespeare, for taking it off the page and putting it, at least imaginatively, in the theater where it belongs.